Welcome to The Explainer, everyone. Today we are unpacking one of the most chaotic, hilarious, and honestly, surprisingly heartwarming cultural exchanges we've seen on the internet in a long time. We're tracking the absolute wild ride of massive American streamer iShowSpeed as he touches down in Finland. Now, you might think you know what happens when hyper-fast, loud internet culture crashes headfirst into the famously quiet, traditional Nordic lifestyle. But, as you'll see, this is a modern, fish-out-of-water story that goes completely, and I mean completely, off the rails. We've combed through the raw footage in his whole unscripted journey to show you how a trip that started as a terrifying mob scene actually turned into a really profound cultural deep dive.
Okay, let's dive right into this with a quote from the man himself. "I literally almost died. I am 100% Finnish now." I mean, that right there just perfectly captures the absolute whiplash of this trip. Think about it. How on earth do you go from literally fearing for your physical safety to feeling this deep, spiritual connection to a brand new country in a single afternoon? What kicked off as a super chaotic live stream with screaming fans everywhere actually morphed into a hardcore cultural immersion. He didn't just visit Finland, you guys. He survived it.
And to really get it, you have to look at the timeline, because the escalation here is just insane. Literally 5 minutes after stepping out, he's totally mobbed. Fast forward to minute 30, and the security situation gets so intense they are literally hiding out in an underground bunker. And by hour 1, he is voluntarily being set on fire inside a wooden room. It's like a movie script. The whole thing mirrors the frantic, unpredictable energy of his streams perfectly, throwing him straight into the deep end of Finnish survival.
Which brings us right to his arrival, and his reaction just says it all. He's yelling, "Where are these kids spawning from? Why are none of these kids in school?" The welcome from the Finnish fans was just overwhelmingly massive. We are talking hundreds of teenagers literally pounding on the windows of his car, completely trapping him, making his security team scramble. The crowd was so huge they actually had to retreat into an underground cave, which, fun fact, is a spot famously designed for government officials and presidents to hide out in.
So let's look at Section 1, the 1906 candy trial, a taste of Finnish history.
While he's stuck in that cave, they give him a local snack. And this was his immediate, unfiltered reaction. "I just ate dog food." The contrast is just hilarious. You've got this energetic American streamer throwing out all his usual slang and wildly overreacting, looking absolutely disgusted by what he was just handed. He genuinely 100% believes his hosts are pranking him by feeding him kibble in a cave.
Well, actually, scratch that. It wasn't dog food at all. He was eating salmiakki. For those who don't know, this is a traditional, intensely strong, super salty, black licorice candy that dates all the way back to 1906. It's a massive, beloved staple in Finland, so his total meltdown was really just the shock of tasting something completely alien to an American palate, but to his Finnish hosts, it's just pure nostalgia.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how his built-in geographical fears totally clashed with the reality of where he was. They head out to these beautiful Finnish waters, and his American instinct instantly kicks in. He's looking around like, are there sharks out here? He is legitimately terrified of a saltwater apex predator in a freshwater Nordic lake. But his guides quickly shut that down and introduce him to the real local threat, 20-kilogram pikes with razor-sharp teeth. It's this hilarious reality check that perfectly highlights the gap between what he expected and the actual rugged Finnish wilderness.
Which brings us to Section 2, surviving the extreme sauna, 100 degrees Celsius of tradition.
Okay, so listen, this is definitely not the mild steam room at your local gym. This is a hardcore, highly traditional Finnish gauntlet. Step 1, you endure a blistering 100 degrees Celsius. To put that in perspective, that is the literal boiling point of water. Step 2, you get repeatedly slapped with wet, leafy branches to, quote, make you tingle. Step 3, and yes, I promise you this actually happened, get voluntarily lit on fire. And finally, Step 4, to put out the flames and shock your system, you sprint outside and plunge directly into freezing natural water. The whole shebang.
And the absolute panic during this sequence is just unmatched. "My hair going on fire, bro. I can't swim in this." The guides basically oiled him up with a flammable gel and briefly lit his chest and back on fire as a sort of wild stunt. The pure terror of that boiling heat forced him to sprint blindly out the door and dive straight into the icy water, screaming the whole time that he couldn't swim. It was chaotic, it looked like a near-death experience, but hey, miraculously, he survived it.
Moving right along to Section 3, a feast of the North, discovering Finnish cuisine.
So, the crucial point here is what they actually served him to recover. They didn't coddle him with a basic burger and fries. No way. They gave him an unapologetic, fully authentic menu. We're talking whole fried venda fish, a really traditional salmon soup, and the absolute centerpiece, reindeer meat, specifically the tongue and heart, finished off with sweet semolina porridge. It is a super heavy, highly unusual meal for an outsider, but it's deeply tied to the natural resources of the North.
And this part brilliantly shows how much he was opening up on the trip. At first, his cultural conditioning kicks in, and he's hesitating, joking around like, R.I.P. Rodolph, Santa gonna be mad. Because, in the US, reindeer are pretty much exclusively magical Christmas animals. But his ultimate verdict after taking a bite? Why is this reindeer actually good? The cultural barrier just vanishes the second he tastes it. In fact, when he finds out later he was eating the reindeer's tongue, he straight up admits it was his absolute favorite dish of the whole day.
Next up is Section 4, the ultimate physical test, the wife-carrying world championship.
Now, you might be wondering, is this a joke? Because Speed definitely thought he was being trolled. But no, wife carrying is a 100% legitimate, internationally recognized sport that was invented right there in Finland. The male competitors literally hoist a female teammate onto their backs, usually upside down by the way, and sprint through this grueling obstacle course full of hurdles and water traps. And for his trial, he had to carry the actual literal female world champion.
The result? Yeah, complete and utter physical failure. He tried to lift her, realized almost instantly how incredibly heavy and tough it is to sprint while carrying a whole human being, dropped her, and immediately tapped out of the race. But, in true classic streamer fashion, despite failing the challenge in a matter of seconds, he hilariously and super confidently declares, "I am now the wife-carrying world champion." Completely unearned, but you gotta admire the confidence.
And finally, Section 5, an unexpected match, 100% finish now. At the end of the day, despite the screaming, the brutal physical exertion, and, catching on fire in a 100-degree room, he walked away with some massive cultural wins. He was gifted beautiful custom-painted fan art, he crowned the entire experience a massive W on stream, he couldn't stop praising the great vibe and the genuine fun of the locals. Through all the absolute chaos, he achieved a real sense of cultural enlightenment and genuinely bonded with a country that welcomed him with very open, if very intense, arms.
And perhaps the highest praise he could possibly give? After all that authentic salmon and reindeer, he discovered a local fast food chain called Hesburger. And he didn't just like it, he boldly ranked it as the #1, and in his own words, the only good burger in all of Europe. Trust me, that is a massive honor coming from an American fast food connoisseur.
So, we've seen it all. The 10-degree boiling heat, the literal fire, the icy plunges, the salty 1906 black licorice, and the heavy lifting of the wife-carrying championship. The culture there is just as extreme as it is welcoming. So after seeing all of this, I have to ask you, would you survive a true, authentic Finnish vacation? Think about it. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring the wonderful, crazy chaos of our world. Catch you next time.